Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today on a very overcast, snowy March day. I don't think the snow is going to accumulate. I don't think it's going to stick around much, but it's filling the air right now, and as you can see, it's destroying the light. But there's a tag going around. It's become popular, almost viral. And since I ostentatiously wasn't tagged in it by anyone in the world, I thought I would do it. It's the Canterbury Tales Tag. It was created by AJ Dunn, who didn't tag me. And then I saw versions, let's see, Brian at Bookish did a version of this, didn't tag me. Michael K. Vaughan did a version of this tag, didn't tag me. Brandon's Bookshelf did a version of this tag, didn't tag me. CriminOlly did a version of this tag, didn't tag me. It's like I'm invisible over here. Uh, uh, so I thought I would do it myself, since there's virtually nothing written in the English language in any kind of English language that I love more than the Canterbury Tales. I thought I would do the tag myself. Starting with, there's a lot of prompts here, but we're going to go through them nice and quick. Number one is the host is the character who relates the tales to the reader. He is large, loud, and merry. He also has a name. Recommend a Mammoth book over 800 pages for March of the Mammoths, which is an ongoing BookTube event this month where we celebrate books that are over 800 pages long. And the one that I would recommend here at the start of the Canterbury Tales book tag would be the Canterbury Tales in the Penguin Classic Edition, in Chaucer's original English. That Penguin Classic Edition is well over 800 pages. And the reason that I recommend it is because it's disconcerting how many people connected with this tag are admitting right out of the starting gate that they haven't read the Canterbury Tales. That is terrible. That is a terrible omission. They're so much fun and so interesting. But so I'm going to recommend the big fat Penguin Classic book of the Canterbury Tales. Then prompt number 2 is the knight stands for fighting, war, and bravery. Recommend a book with a courageous main character. Here I want to recommend a book by Henry Meyer called All on Fire, which is a biography of William Lloyd Garrison, the great abolitionist pioneer, William Lloyd Garrison, who risked literally his life to stridently say at every opportunity, in person and in print, that slavery was a moral evil, that it had to go, that it shouldn't wait for a civil war or a federal institution. It should be gone. It should be abolished. All of it should be abolished. He had to be whisked out of many a public meeting because people were afraid he would be killed. So that takes a lot of bravery. I'm going to go with that. Prompt number 3 is the wife of Bath stands for marriage, sex, and arguing. Okay, I want to stress here, these are AJ Dunn's descriptions of these characters. Okay, not mine. I'm not saying them. I'm repeating them. They're part of the tag. Tell us about a book with a strong female character. Here I want to pick a book that was put together by Leonard Marcus. It's called Dear Genius. And it's a collection of letters with a little bit of exposition about Ursula Nordstrom, who was for a long time the head of the Harper's Department of Books for Boys and Girls. The children's department of Harper for a number of its different incarnations, Harper and Row, Harper Brothers, that sort of thing. Ursula Nordstrom stayed in control of those books for a long time. She made tons and tons of contacts with tons and tons of authors and produced an enormous number of what we would consider to be children's book classics that were originally nudged into existence by her. Dear Genius is an amazing reading experience. It will introduce you to someone in ye olden days of publishing that you really want to know. Let's see here. Prompt number 4 is the partner is all about ambiguity. Tell us about your favorite queer characters. I'm pretty sure that I don't know what queer means in the context of this question. But if I take a very monochromatic view of it instead of whatever its current political valence is, and just say gay, then the character that I wrote down here is Mark Trigger from The Venus Adriana by Ethan Mordden. The Venus Adriana is a story about a young man who falls into the circle of basically a character who is Maria Callas. And it's terrifically good. It's one of Ethan Morden's best things. And prompt number 5 is the Miller is bold, blasphemous, and overturns conventions. Who is your favorite naughty character? I'm going to go with The Great Agnostic, a book by Susan Jacoby, an author I really, really like. She wrote a book about the great atheist Robert Ingersoll. Naughty is probably too mild a word to describe him, but The Great Agnostic is a terrific book. Prompt number 6 is the Prioress is modest, quiet, and compassionate. Recommend a book you don't hear much about on BookTube. I had to laugh at this just a bit. In the best of spirits. Not mean at all. But I have mentioned on my channel before that one of the things that I notice in readers, that I can't help but notice in readers, is often, uh, I don't know a nice way to put it. I really don't know a nice way to put it. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that most readers don't have a really good idea of how many books have appeared. That most readers haven't read beyond a relatively narrow ambit. So there are whole genres, whole authors out there, and I'm sure this is true for me as well. But there are whole genres, whole authors who have never been mentioned on BookTube, who've never been talked about at length on BookTube, certainly in this corner of BookTube. A whole bunch of names came to mind. Where is the Alan Garganis fan in our little corner of BookTube? Where is the mention of Tom McGuane? What about Gilbert Sorrentino? I don't think I've ever heard Gilbert Sorrentino's name mentioned on BookTube, or only once in a while. And so on and so forth. It goes all the way down the line for playwrights and poets and nonfiction writers and adventure writers, all the way down. There are many, many. We have, in other words, an enticingly large amount of ground to cover. Uh, uh, Prompt number 7 was the only one that gave me an insuperable problem. The monk cares little for the rule of work and prayer. Tell us about an unconventional character. Really couldn't figure out that. Distinctive characters, yes, all over the place, but I have no idea really what unconventional means here, so I'm going to pass on this one for now. Prompt number 8 is the friar is all about confession. Confess to us, have you read the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and other religious texts all the way through? Yes. My answer is yes. And if your follow-up question is, well, yes to which religious text have you read all the way through? My answer is yes. Okay. Number 9 is the summoner is lecherous and a drunk who tries to sound more educated than he is. Tell us about a book that sounded better than it was. I'm risking the wrath of the gods here, but the god I'm thinking of is currently on Lenten retreat, so maybe I'll get a pass. The book I'm thinking of is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, which the thumbnail description of it is certainly true for part of it. A kind of murder mystery in a medieval monastery with a very intentional parody of Sherlock Holmes as the sleuth. But the book, oh my, it does the Umberto Eco shtick just endlessly, and it gets worse as it goes along, or better if you like the Umberto Eco shtick. So that's what I'm going to say for this one, The Name of the Rose, which I could easily picture someone else writing The Name of the Rose without the Umberto Eco shtick, where it would be just a terrific murder mystery. I realize now the Umberto Eco shtick makes it much more than that, but more is not always better. Then number 10 is the parson is poor, but rich in thought and deeds. Tell us about a book that gave you more than you expected. Here I'm going to echo a choice by Brandon's Bookshelf, who did not tag me for this tag, and that is Behave by Robert Sapolsky. A fantastic book. I've recommended it on this channel many, many times before. It's bottomless. You will really, really like it. There will be a revelation or a new thought on every page. So I recommend that. Let's see here. Number 10 is the parson is poor. Or no, number 11, the squire stands for youth, beauty, and courting. What book did you fall in love with when you were a youth? None. Didn't read when I was a youth, nor did my playmates. Number 12, the clerk says little, but his words are wise and morally virtuous. Tell us about a short book that made you a better person. Short or long, there hasn't been a one. I've been, to the limited extent that I am improvable, I have been made a better person by all sorts of things, but not books. No, thank you very much. Pain, joy, giving, love, but not books. No, so I'll pass on that one as well. Number 13, the man of law upholds justice and knows the laws by heart. What is a book you could not imagine rereading? I stand with a number of people who read this and not really understood the jump between that. I feel fairly certain that I know the point here, and I think it's tell us about what is a book that you could not imagine rereading. Can't imagine rereading implies negative, right? It implies you can't imagine rereading it because it was so bad. And that has been the way that most people have answered this question. But I think the wording really wants to be, what is a book that you can't imagine needing to reread? I think that's probably closer to The Man of Law. But for me, I'm going to use the way that other people are interpreting that can't imagine rereading and say the kind of indie book that I read every day. I read one I read an example every single day. Every day a different book that I can't imagine rereading or reading at all if I weren't being paid to do it. So there's too many to name, thousands. Uh, Number 14 is The Manciple Provides the Food. Recommend a series you think is good from the first book to the last. Here I want to mention the Safehold books by David Weber. The first one is Off Armageddon Reef. Off Armageddon Reef. And if you read that and you like it, the thing that I want to maintain, that I want to stress here is the series stays good. I think it doesn't have any real high points or low points. It just stays. There's no drop off in quality, is what I'm trying to say. The Safehold books are a really inventive, open-ended series where mankind ventures into space and encounters an alien race that is overwhelmingly powerful and overwhelmingly hostile. And mankind is almost destroyed. And steps are taken to save what's left of humanity by removing from them the thing that attracts them to this alien race, which is advanced technology. So a group of humans are sent to an Earth-like world where they will have medieval technology, where there will be safeguards in place so that they just stay that way. And so most of the Safehold books are really alternate world historical fiction. There's a safeguard put in place. There's an AI that's sent with them that has all of the advanced knowledge in the world. But mostly it's what would happen. Would religions form? Would they conjoin with the state? All that sort of thing. Very enjoyable, every single book, without any real dip in quality. So I'm not saying that they're great, but if you liked one, you're going to like them all. Number 15 is The Merchant Deals in Furs and Cloth and is Powerful and Wealthy. Recommend a book with a powerful message or theme. Here I want to mention a book that was so big that it was made into 2 volumes called The Carbon Ideologies by William Vollmann, which is technically, on one level, about residual radiation from radiation hotspots around the world. And what that means, what it means for humans to be walking around in air that is residually radioactive. But it has much, much deeper things going on all over the place. It's my favorite thing the author's done. And it has many of the themes that are deeper than just what the radiometer says are really, really work. They really work on you. I still, in my entire life, have never seen paperbacks of the Carbon Ideologies. Carbon Ideologies came out in 2,000-page hardcovers, and I'm sure that those have had paperback reprints. And I don't know to this day if I'm blurbed on either one of those paperbacks. I might be. I sang their praises when they came out. Not always easy to do, because a great number of my critical brethren look first at a book's length. They're not paid all that well. They're kind of lazy. They've got jobs and school and families. They don't really want to tackle 2 1,000-page volumes unless an irritant pushes them to do it over and over again. Number 16 is The Shipman is a wine-stealing rascal. Tell us about a side character who steals the spotlight. Here I want to second the same answer as Michael K. Vaughan gave in his version of this tag, in which he did not tag me, which is Woola, the multiple-legged dog, the Martian dog that develops a steadfast loyalty for John Carter, Earthman John Carter, when he goes to Barsoom. Woola is a great side character. Number 17 is The Physician Knows What Ails You and Can Cure It. Tell us about a book you consider a comfort read. There are so many. There are so many books that are comfort reads for me. I've jotted down The Price of the Phoenix by Sandra Marshak and Myrna Culbreth, a dorky old science fiction novel that I just love. I go back to it all the time, even though I know it by heart. Also, The Pastel City by M. John Harrison, which is a Viraconium novel, and it's orders of magnitude better in terms of prose and execution than The Price of the Phoenix. I go back to it all the time. I go back to it far more often than I do other Viraconium books or stories. But what else do I have? Also, Fascinate by Catherine Raven, far more recent book that I know is going to be a comfort read for the rest of my life, about a woman who sequesters herself from annoying humanity into a cabin in the woods, or in the wilderness, and is befriended by a wild fox. And they develop a relationship. It's not Disney. It's not anthropomorphizing at all, but it's wonderfully done and beautifully written. And also another comfort read right up there on the list would be The House on Nauset Marsh by Wyman Richardson. A collection of vignettes of life in a house on Cape Cod 100 years ago that is utterly, once you fall under its spell, it's utterly delightful. And that list could go on and on. But anyway, number 18 is The Franklin is not a vassal or a noble, but a free man. Recommend a book about freedom in any form. Here my answer will be predictable, but I never miss an opportunity to praise this book. It's David Blight's biography of Frederick Douglass, big fat thing that when it came out, I sang its praises to everybody. I urged everybody, this is not just another Frederick Douglass book. This is the best biography that's ever been written of Frederick Douglass, one of the best biographies written this year. I think it has a paperback now. I don't know if I'm blurbed on the paperback, but I could not praise the book enough and talk about being about freedom. It's certainly about freedom. Wish I were free of sirens in the background. That would be great. Let's see here. Number 19 is the Reeve is believable on the outside, but lies on the inside. What book was different than the blurb led you to believe? And here, again, like with books that you could not imagine rereading, I say bring it on. Thousands of them. And the problem, I have to admit, is my own profession. Because a lot of times I am led to believe what a book is going to be like by its blurbs. And a lot of times those blurbs are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. There was a blurb on the new, what was it, The Swimmers. Otsuka? Is that the name of the author? The blurb on the cover was, well, now that a new Otsuka novel has arrived, we can all start to live again. What does it even mean? It was a totally bad book. What does that even mean? Or there was a blurb on some other novel also that said, redefines fiction forever. It absolutely does not. It was a pedestrian effort, a left-handed exercise. And you read blurbs like that, you read enough of them. Oh my God. There's a number of candidates. I could list a long list of candidates, which I might add gives us a lesson. There's a takeaway lesson to that. And that is only trust blurbs by Steve. That's all. Only trust blurbs by Steve. I don't know the author. I'm not friends with the author. I don't want to sleep with the author. I don't want to sleep with the author's children. I don't have any debts to repay. I'm not looking to get in at Yaddo or McDowell. I don't have any favors like that at all. My blurbs can be trusted. Anyway, number 20, The Plowman is good-hearted and faithful. What book do you read over and over again? Again, the list is long. The list is very long. The Diaries of Samuel Pepys, The Histories of Herodotus, I think was a mention that Michael K. Vaughan gave in his version of this video, in which he did not tag me. Pride and Prejudice, Dracula. I read these books over and over and over again. The Tale of Genji. I don't know how many times I've read The Tale of Genji, the King James Bible. And also, I might point out, again, echoing the point I made in the first question, the Canterbury Tales, which if you haven't read, you should read. I would like to think that if you haven't read the Canterbury Tales, doing the Canterbury Tales tag might prompt you in that direction. I'm certainly hoping that it does. Number 21 is the Guildsmen are 5 men who act as a unit and stand for brotherhood or sisterhood. Again, I want to point out, these are AJ Dunn's summaries. If the idea of sisterhood occurred to Chaucer or Harry Bailey or the Guildsmen, I'm the czar of all the Russias, but I guess we have to include it now, so we will. There's no harm in it. Recommend a book with a strong ensemble cast of characters. Here, another favorite, another predictable answer here, The Metaphysical Club by Louis Menard, about a group of intellectuals 100 years ago in Cambridge, Massachusetts, it's every bit as good as its praise has said. It's every bit as good as word of mouth might have reached you. It's a terrific, involving work of popular history. Number 22 is The Cook Makes the Food That Feeds You. Tell us about a book that feeds your soul. There is no such book. There is no book that feeds my soul, because I don't have a soul, and neither do you. Number 23 is The Yeoman Serves You. Tell us about a book that served its purpose, that did what you wanted it to do. It wasn't great, but wasn't bad. And here a whole bunch of answers came to mind. There are a whole bunch of books that are like that. Demotic books, books that are meant to be used rather than enjoyed or savored, right? So language books or nature guide books, that sort of thing. I've worked my way through, read maybe is the wrong word. I've read my way through a huge number of those. And it's only once in a blue moon, the Neotropical Companion, for instance. It's only once in a blue moon that one of those books is actually good reading. You're not there for the reading. You're there for the information that it will impart. So it's a large number of books that would fit this bill. Number 24 is The Second Nun, talks about a saint's life in her tale. What book do you praise often? One that came to mind is Meg by Steve Alton, which would also fit in a number of these other categories, like a book that sounds a lot better than it ends up being, or a book that's a comfort read. But here I also praise Meg. Meg is a genuinely great piece of pulp trash about a giant albino prehistoric killer shark. And then the next prompt is: the nun's priest is witty and doesn't take himself too seriously. Recommend a book that has a funny or witty main character. I immediately thought of Mark Twain, and in this case, the biography of Mark Twain by Ron Powers, which is wonderful. It is one of the greatest Mark Twain biographies ever written, and has, as I notice in all books, a fantastic final part. The final 2 paragraphs are incredibly good, just incredibly good. Ron Powers is a terrific writer. I loved his book, No One Cares About Crazy People. You really should read that book if you haven't already. I absolutely loved it. But his biography of Mark Twain is really good as well. And then the final prompt here, number 76, is tag some BookTube pilgrims. And I have to ask you, prithee, why on earth would I do that when all of BookTube is united in only one thing, and that is not tagging me? So I'll go on this pilgrimage alone. Thank you very much. Anyway, that's the Canterbury Tales tag. It was great. That is a great tag. If you haven't done it and you have a channel, definitely do it. Let's see 30 more of these. Yes, 26 prompts is a lot, but it's a lot. It's a great discussion. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.